waiting for the right time. I don't know. Can you share a specific story that, that...
I mean, the right time is when you financially can.
Literally. I agree.
There's no right time to buy real estate. It's always the right time to buy real estate as long as you can, because your financial situation will change with time. Today you could be making all this money, tomorrow you could be making a little less. But if today you can buy, you just buy it.
I agree.
You're going to live in it. If things get bad, then you rent it. You rent it and see if there's any way that we could get a rental cheaper, which is usually not the case. But once you have the asset, there's so many ways to lower the payment, refinancing, cashing out, doing a HELOC, buying more investment properties. Maybe the next one you buy a little cheaper so that this one you rent it at least covers the mortgage, or you rent it by the room and now you're making money.
Icon Estates, the Julimar Barreiro Show. Behind the scenes of Florida's most exclusive deals.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Icon Estates by me, your host, Julimar Barreiro, Florida's top luxury real estate agent, mom, entrepreneur, and investor. Today, I have one of my agents here, Camila Contreras.
Hi,
and
everyone.
We are going to be making this episode very different. We're kind of just going to talk about different things of life. She's going to ask me questions. I'm going to ask her questions. And hopefully you learn something from today. How are you, Camila?
I'm amazing. I'm so excited to be here. I'm going to ask so many questions. You're going to get the Julimar Barreiro. I'm going to ask her so many questions, guys. So you have to stay for the whole episode.
All right. So Camila is actually a new agent.
Yes.
I have trained lots of really new agents in real estate. And, they always have several questions they want to ask. And so I want to just open up my book so you guys just learn from me.
Yes, perfect.
So what do you want to know?
I've learned so many things with you, Julimar. Like, you're an amazing coach, and that's why I was just like, I need to be with her. I mean, we can talk a little bit about how we met.
Of course.
We can talk a little bit about that. So, I remember when I got my license, right? This is I got it around February, January. And, my friends, right? Brian, Dagmar, and I used to work with Brian in Adidas, and he was like, you need to work with Julimar. All the time. He would always tell me, you need to work with Julimar. She's the best agent. She's the best agent in Florida. What are you doing? And I don't know, he would always send me your Instagram things.
They used to tell me that you just didn't really want to do it.
Yeah, I was just I feel like she's I don't know, she's just way up here. I don't feel like, you know what I mean? I don't think I can be with her. She's just super top, luxury and everything. He was like, no, she's the best agent ever. You have to be with the best if you want to be the best. So I was like, okay. I'm like, well, let's see. And at the time I was still working my job. So I was I wasn't really taking real estate seriously, And when I did decide, I was I need to take this seriously. I was like, Brian, I think I gotta, go with the best, And then we started talking, and that's what really got me with her, because she truly is the best. And we'll break it down here in the podcast. Why.
Yeah, the best means a lot. I feel like everybody in real estate is the best. Everybody calls themselves the best.
Yes.
And I mean, there are a lot of us that are the best in what we do, but we all have our niche. And it's interesting that you said that, because when I was helping Brian buy his house, which I've helped his whole family, every time I talk about them, I want to get emotional, because what a lot of people don't know is that when I started real estate, I was doing wholesaling, but it didn't fulfill me. It just didn't really make me feel whole. So I got into the retail side of things, and I was 7 months pregnant. I was broke. Couldn't pay my mortgage. A lot of people know that I did my pregnancy alone. That's a story for another day. But it was very challenging times. And Dagmar, I actually met her through a friend of her that's actually buying another house with me right now.
Wow.
So clients always come back to me, and there's
a reason to that.
There's a reason why. But I actually met Dagmar at her house back then at 8:00 at night. I was 7th month pregnant. Dagmar came to me not believing if she could buy a home, because she had just lost $10,000 with another agent just a week before.
What?
And you know, when I went, I was like, listen, all we can do is try. Let me see what we can do. My lender's really good, and let's just see what we can come up with. And surprisingly, they thought their credit was really low. It came up really good. And that was the first client that I helped with down payment assistance. And they were able to buy their home. They still have that home. And after that, I cannot explain to you how grateful I am. They built my business. I was the agent that took that extra mile to get them in their home, even after another agent had made them lose $10,000. And they've sent me everybody and their mother. That's what I say. So they work at a place called La Chiquita, and I feel like I've helped everybody at La Chiquita. And I love it. I love it because I understand how they earn their income. And I have a really good reputation, and that's how my business been 100% referrals. So I'm an agent that I've never had to pay for leads. I'm now working on marketing with the podcast and Instagram and all that stuff. So I'm really glad you gave yourself the opportunity to come work with me.
Yes, I think that's what makes you the great. Like, that's what they saw, because you took that extra mile. That's why they were like, oh, she is the best, because maybe, you know, I didn't even know that happened. That's insane. And $10,000. And, you know, it's people that you're making that dream come true. Because sometimes, even if it seems impossible, I think that's what separates most agents. It's doing that extra thing to making it happen. And you make it happen. I've seen it, you know? So that's why I was just like, wow, it's just every day. And that's why, I mean, we talked about it, about being with you, seeing how you truly make things happen, taking that extra mile, talking to the right people. I think that's what sets, you know, the real estate agent that apart into actually being the best. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. Negotiations.
Okay.
You're a killer.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I like, you're just like, I'll just negotiate. And I'm just like, what does that really mean? I'm like, and she gets it done. And I'm like, huh. So I want to know, what are some like tips that like separates that agent into negotiating? What are the best negotiating tips?
Well, I think to negotiate, you truly have to know your client first. Once you know your client, I feel like it makes everything much easier. But you also need to study the agent on the other side. And you also got to get the whole story of, why is the seller selling? Why do they need to sell? Are they desperate to sell? Are they not desperate to sell? We just got to find those things out.
Like the motivation.
Correct. And I love a challenge. So I win a lot of the times. I would say 90% of the time on multiple offer situations. Because for you to negotiate, it's really important that you need to know the story on both sides, you know, the client side and the seller side, the buyer and the seller. And I always tell my buyers to like chill, let me work, let me get you the best deal. I can go all in to ask for everything at the beginning. So knowing when to ask for things, knowing your contract, it's always going to be the key. Usually, I just got to get in the door. So for me to get in the door, all I have to do is give the seller what they want. Okay. Right? But after we give the seller what they want and what my buyer needs, minimum, then I have to know when I'm going to ask for the rest of the things. And usually that's going to happen during inspections. Wow. Usually that's when I'm going to be like, okay, I need the roof, I need the water heater, I need this, or I need money. And many occasions I've gotten my client a check at closing to their contractor so that they can come in and fix all those things. And that's the way I like to do it. Or if my client is, you know, short of funds, then I'll get that money for closing costs. But it all depends on how the negotiation starts. Sometimes I go in without asking for anything. Sometimes I go in asking for a little bit. Just for example, right now, I'm helping a client from La Chiquita. Wow. And
she's the Chiquita's realtor.
Okay. I am. So right now I'm helping a client from La Chiquita, and he has X amount of money, but he needed a little bit more from the seller. So I always went in a little bit more aggressive. I asked for 10. When the realtor called me and she's kind of explaining to me what the seller cannot do, what the situation is. I'm like, listen, she had multiple offers. So I'm like, just give me 5. Just give me 5 and let's see what happens in the inspections. And I like to tell the agent, like, hey, I'm not your typical real estate agent. I'm not going to nick and pick on everything. I'm only going to ask you for whatever I actually need to make the deal work. Roof, water heater. If the insurance is not going to be if it's not going to get covered by insurance and I'm not going to be able to get insurance, then I'm going to have a dead deal.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I'm going to ask you for. But that's how I like to kind of get in to negotiate. And sometimes it gets ugly and you just got to get ugly for your clients. I've always said real estate is not, you can't just be the nicest agent out there. You got to have some mean inside of you and just bring it out when it needs to come out.
Yeah, but I love you said it's mean, but at the end of the day, it's just to respect. You got to defend. I mean, at the end of the day, you're representing that person. You're kind of like a lawyer in a way. You're fighting for your client. That's at their best interest, period.
Yeah.
So I love that you say that because I've noticed that aura of you. People respect you. Like when you enter, you're like, okay, this, and this, and people, understand that. And I feel like that's why, like you mentioned, I love the way that you kind of structure the negotiation. Mm-hmm. You first start get in and then slowly, instead of just being like everything.
Yeah.
Because that scares people away.
It does, but being a woman in real estate, it's hard, man. It's hard when, people don't take you serious because you'll get a lot of leads or a lot of clients that will come to you and they're not really trying to buy a house. They're trying to take you out to lunch or dinner or hit on you. And I could tell you that's never really happened to me because I think I do portray that of like, I'm just here to do business. But I have been around agents that they're pretty and they're gorgeous and they'll get those messages like, hey, I just want to take you out to lunch or hey, I want to buy a house. But they're not really trying to buy a house. They're just trying to meet with you and take you out. And it makes it very frustrating for a lot of women. But I can say that's not really happened to me. And I think that when I train agents, especially new women, female, I'd be like, the way you dress says a lot. What you wear, how you act, what you say is what opens the doors for that type of leader, the type of clientele that you are attracting.
100%. Yeah, it's like what you portray. Like what you portray, that's what you will get. I feel like it's
and
like
there's
what
nothing
you
wrong.
attract.
I know many successful real estate agents that are a little bit more out there, to say the least, and it works for them. I'm not saying it's not gonna work, but for my brand, for who I am, I like to be professional and I just like to dress professional. And yeah, there's nothing wrong with being a little sexy here and there. If that's what you want, that works, you know? At the end of the day, if that's what's going to build confidence for you, then go for it.
Yeah.
But don't take it to the extreme.
No, I agree, because then it's just, what are you, like you say, it's like dress for success. What are you, portraying? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Another thing about, like you said, being a woman in business.
Yes.
What do you think? I know we talked about a little bit of advice. What are some struggles that you face, especially in the beginning, that you would say being a woman in business, trying to grow the brand that you have today?
I don't really want this to sound really cocky because that's not what I'm trying to go for. But I'm just going to go with, I was very blessed. Before I got into real estate, I used to do door-to-door sales for AT&T Uvers. I did that for about 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then I did roofing sales door-to-door for another 2 years. Wow. So coming into the business, I already had that selling mentality, entrepreneur. You got to make it if you want to get paid. This is not a 9-to-5. You got to go for it. So, when I got my real estate license, I already had my first client. Now, it was an investor. So one of the main challenges I think I would say I faced was knowing where to really hang my license. I knew that I'm not going to say names, but there's a company where my uncle was like, you need to hang your license there. You need to hang your license there. They pay 100%. And I was like, no, 100% means 100% by yourself, 100% of nothing. And that is something that I truly believe in. Yeah. And the agents in that company, they don't have the best reputation because they don't really know what they're doing. That's not something I wanted to do. That don't mean I made the right choice. I went with another small brokerage in Windermere business. I was promised, a lot of training, a lot of things. And I'm not saying he didn't help. He did train me a little bit, but like many agents, I didn't feel that what I was paying him was worth what I was learning. So at that point in time, I decided to do some wholesaling because on wholesaling, I didn't have to pay him.
Yeah.
I'm just wholesaling. I'm not acting as an agent. I'm just acting as a buyer. And then flipping the contract. And we can talk about that in another episode. But
yeah, that's interesting.
I did that for about the first 2-3 years of my career. Then I got pregnant and I wanted something more. And I was just looking for, okay, now I really need to learn this retail side of things. Like, what is a real contract? Like, how do I protect my client? How do I negotiate? How do I find houses that make sense? But I think having that investment mentality walking into retail helped me a lot.
Yeah.
So I would say that the biggest challenge for me was knowing where to hang my license and knowing who to learn from.
Yeah.
And I do feel that a lot of new agents experience that, and all I can say is go with your gut. You'll make mistakes. You'll learn from them. Just don't get stuck. Just find where to go next. And the most important thing that I could say is you want to learn, you want quality learning, you're going to have to pay. You're either going to pay your broker or you're going to have to pay for a coach or you're going to have to pay for training. Nothing in life is free, and this is your business. You are investing in your business. And it ain't free. That's all I can say.
I 100% agree. And I believe in that. Get a mentor. Like, I believe like Julimar's my mentor. And we even talked about it. We're like, okay, from now on, we're just going to be together until, we get like tired of each other or like, So I think it's just very essential to find that person that you're like, that you admire, that that you want to do something great that they did, and being with them and just being humble. I think that just take as a new agent, just be humble and learn. They're there for a reason. They've worked their way up, and just ask questions and be out there. I think that's the best thing ever. So now that we talked about your wholesaling background, and I mean, I don't know if people know this, but Julimar's an investor. Like, you have multiple properties.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that's thinking of, taking their income and actually making a passive income, creating new streams of income? What would you say to them?
So easy. It just depends. If you want to create streams of income, then you need either long-term rental properties or you need Airbnbs. In the real estate world, there's plenty other ways to do it, but in the real estate world, that's what I go for. So I currently have 2 long-term rental properties.
Okay.
Those 2 long-term rental properties pay for each other, but they also pays for one of my Airbnbs. So the income that Airbnb makes is 100% profit.
The cash flow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's completely profits. So basically, we got to start somewhere, right? You can't just become an investor and you don't even have your first property. So what I like to tell, my buyers is like, we got to get that first property where you're going to live in. We're just going to make the right investment. We're going to get the right property. And within a year, if we're ready, we're going to go ahead and put that property either on Airbnb if it qualifies for it, or we're going to convert it into a long-term rental, or we can also convert it into rooms. And there's a lot of different applications right now where you can rent per room, and they're getting like $1,000 per room. So there's plenty of ways to start creating that passive income through property, but you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So the first step is you got to buy your first home. And we got to be very strategic. So when we have that consultation with our clients, I like to ask, well, what's your end goal? Do you want to have 1 property? Do you want to have 2 properties? Do you want to create passive income? What are we going to do? So, example. I like to give examples. I just had a client. She's a single mom. She came to me, very similar story like me. She was doing it by herself. And she knew she needed to have a house for her kid. Yeah. So we purchased a home, not where she wanted. It wasn't in Orlando. It wasn't in the major community that she wanted it. But we found a house.
Exactly.
We found a small new construction home, and believe it was in Orange City, DeLand. And that house, she held on to it from 2021 till today. We sold it. She profited about $130,000.
Wow.
With that $130,000, she just became an investor. She bought her first home with that money. She bought a house for her and her son, and we are currently under contract for a rental property. She's buying a property for rent. And when you're a first-time investor, I tried to be as safe as possible. So what I did is I found her a property that I actually had in my portfolio of clients that was already rented.
Wow.
So she's coming in to another property that's 100% rented already. It has a long-term lease, and she's not making crazy money right now, monthly, but she's building equity on 2 properties at the moment. And with time, you know, we get to refinance those properties and we start getting more money and more money into our pocket. But starting when you don't have that much cash, then we have to do it a little slower. That's just how I did it. And right now it's been 3-4 years, and I'm profiting $20,000 a month from 2 Airbnbs.
That's amazing.
And that's only 2 Airbnbs. And then I have the long-term rentals, like I mentioned. And then I have other Airbnbs that are in partnership, and that's different income stream. But out of my own, I make $20,000. And I didn't get there because I had a bunch of cash. I got there slowly, just buying here, my first primary, my second primary. Now, I kept moving a lot, and that's what you got to do. But if you're young and you're ready to do it, that's one of the best ways to do it.
I think a lot of what stops everyone, you know, and that applies to everyone, it's fear.
Yeah.
I want you to talk a little bit about that. The fear to start, you know, that fear that stops us from many, many opportunities.
Yeah, it's we all experience it. You know, I will say that I give anxiety to a lot of people because I try not to think about fear. Listen, honestly, this is what I believe in, and this is what I tell a lot of my clients. It's like, what do I got to lose? I'm putting money into an asset that grows over time. If hypothetically speaking, like everybody says, the market was to crash, then I rent the property. I'm still gonna make money monthly. The property's being rented. I'm making money, and I just gotta wait till the market goes back up.
Yeah.
If it was to go down.
Yeah.
And I say if because a lot of people, they're like, the bubble here, this is gonna explode. I've been listening to this since I got my license 8 years ago. It's not. Honestly, it's not in Florida. At least, yeah, we've seen it. We saw a correction in the market where in 2023 and 2024, the property in Florida didn't really move in most locations. It did in a lot. But one thing we didn't see was the property value go down. We saw it correct because during 2021, 2022, the spikes of properties increasing in value were so fast and it was so much because of the high demand, because of the low rates, then it just went up crazy. But nobody could have see that coming. Now, I always tell my clients, you're never going to lose, but you might have to wait a little longer to sell. Like, you can't just expect to buy the property today and sell it in 6 months and make a profit, or sell it in a year. It could happen, but it's not the norm.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, you lose if you sell. You know, like, you have to just stay with that mindset and, like you said, stay with the market. Like, buy low, sell high. You know what I mean?
You lose if you sell. Let me correct you there. You lose if you sell at the wrong time. But if you sell at the right time, there's no reason why you should be losing money.
Exactly. That's why you sell it high. You know what I mean? You buy low, sell high. I mean, I think in those times, you just got to collect more properties. That's the perfect time to collect. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we talked about also, waiting for that right time. Everybody's just waiting for the right time. I don't know, can you share a specific story that, you know, that...
I mean, the right time is when you financially can.
Literally. I agree.
There's no right time to buy real estate. It's always the right time to buy real estate as long as you can. Because your financial situation will change with time. You know, today you could be making all this money, tomorrow you could be making a little less. But if today you can buy, you just buy it.
I agree.
You're going to live in it. If things get bad, then you rent it. You rent it and see if there's any way that we could get a rental cheaper, which is usually not the case. But once you have the asset, there's so many ways to lower the payment, refinancing, cashing out, doing a HELOC, buying more investment properties. Maybe the next one you buy a little cheaper, so that this one you rent it at least covers the mortgage, or you rent it by the room and now you're making money. There's infinity of things that you can do. Like, buying is the right time, is always the right time to buy as long as you can. If you can't, then it's not the right time. But if you're currently paying rent, where's the difference of I'm paying a mortgage now? It's the same thing. The only difference is when you pay rent is 100% of nothing because you're paying somebody else's mortgage, or you making somebody else richer.
Exactly.
Whereas if you're paying your mortgage, that's your savings account. you're dumping money into your own asset, lowering that debt to at one point you'll be able to sell it and make that money back. I mean, there's infinity of reasons why you should always buy when you can. That's the right time. So, I mean, guys, we have lots and lots of more knowledge to share, but for today, this is going to be it. And, Camila, thank you for being here. I might invite you more often.
I'm going to get an invitation?
Of course. You should be a part of this more often because I want to make sure that we are delivering the right message to everybody that's listening to us, watching our podcast. And it's interesting to see how a young agent's mind works and how we can share best practices. And so thank you guys for watching. And this is your host, Julimar Barreiro, Camila Contreras over there. And we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.